Fighting between Ukrainian and Russian troops is still ongoing around the town of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region, eastern Ukraine. Ukraine's president said Russia suffered more losses there than in Bakhmut, another war hotspot. Similar to Bakhmut, the city is seen as a strategic target for Russian forces seeking to encircle the city, which has been heavily fortified by Ukrainian troops, and to strengthen their foothold in Donetsk. Fighting has raged in the area for months, and little remains of the town that was once home to around 32,000 residents. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he had spoken with defense and security officials regarding the situation around Avdiivka and the surrounding area, and that Russian attacks are very intense, especially in the Donetsk region. The press service of the 3rd Separate Assault Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported on its Telegram channel that its fighters from the 3rd Company of the 2nd Assault Battalion managed to repulse the invaders' positions. The fighters opened fire on the enemy before even getting off the combat vehicle. In a burning forest strip, assault aircraft captured enemy trenches with resistance and fired at the enemy infantry until the enemy infantry withdrew. The video was edited from footage taken with the action camera of the commander of the Makar assault group. In the first 18 hours in the direction of Bakhmut, Ukrainian defenders repulsed 18 attacks by Russian invaders in the Ivansko district near the city itself and the recently liberated Klishchiivka and Andriivka to the south. Fighters of the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine defeated an armored assault column of Russian invaders attacking their positions. The enemy tank moved first, followed by 2 infantry fighting vehicles with landing troops. First, our defenders hit the last BMP with Javelin anti-tank missiles. Then the 2nd BMP decided to cut the line and go off the field road into an open field, where it detonated an anti-tank mine. Left alone, the Colonial tanker began to withdraw, but the tank was hit by another American Javelin. Russian forces have also attacked Ukrainian units crossing the Dnieper River to the left bank of the river in Russian-occupied Kherson. The Kherson region in southern Ukraine was partially occupied by Russian forces after an offensive to capture the city of Kherson last year pushed Russian forces back to the east bank of the river. Ukraine reported on Tuesday that its forces had established a foothold on the east bank of the river. The announcement could mark the start of an advance towards Russian-occupied Crimea, with Ukraine saying on Wednesday that it had begun counterattacking Russian forces on the east bank of Crimea. Over the last 18 hours, the Russian invaders, supported by aviation, launched an offensive on the recently liberated area of the villages of Klishchiivka and Andriivka south of Bakhmut. Having reported this in the evening summary, the press center of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine did not indicate how the enemy attack ended. However, the Telegram channel Operative ZSU reported the results of one of them. East of Klishchiivka, the Russians tried to attack Ukrainian positions. Before reaching the desired positions, they were destroyed by the defenders of the 93rd Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Kholodny Yar Armed Forces. The released video was recorded by an unmanned aerial vehicle, which recorded a direct hit on an enemy Russian armored fighting vehicle, which was driving through a field riddled with shell craters. Fighters of the 58th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed an armored assault column with a landing party of Russian invaders, capturing several interventionists. The press service of the unit announced this on its page on the social network Facebook, publishing a related video edited from footage taken by an unmanned aerial vehicle, the operators of which adjusted us the fire and the course of the battle. First, a column of 3 enemy armored fighting vehicles with landing gear is shown moving along a field road along a forest path. Someone was hit directly in the middle of the BBM. The intervention jumped out. Then you can see how our tank drives across the field from the side towards the enemy column, firing at it from the cannon. Later, direct attacks on enemy tanks were recorded. The British Ministry of Defense said that Russian forces were continuing to launch attacks on the contested town of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine. In its latest intelligence report, the Ministry of Defense said, Russia will almost certainly seek a more stringent approach to encircle the city. The analysis continues. Avdiivka has been contested for nearly a decade and is of political importance for Russia given its proximity to the city of Donetsk. The Avdiivka coke and chemical plant dominates the main road to Avdiivka, and if Russian forces were to secure it, supplying the city's needs would become increasingly difficult for Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry said 4 Ukrainian drones had been intercepted on Russian territory, including the Moscow region, overnight. In a statement on Telegram, the ministry said the drones were destroyed in the Moscow, Tambov, Orlov, and Bryansk regions by air defense systems. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that any internal and external attempts to disrupt Russia's 2024 presidential elections would be suppressed, state media TSS reported. A Ukrainian military spokesman this month said Ukraine had achieved reasonable results in encouraging Russian troops to relocate. Unofficial reports note Ukraine's progress. In a highly unusual incident on Monday, 2 Russian news agencies published warnings saying that Moscow was moving troops to more advantageous positions east of the Dnieper in Ukraine, but withdrew the information minutes later.